Hi, everyone. Welcome to Eating Healthy on a Budget. My name is Melissa Cotton. I'm a field specialist in nutrition and health education for the University of Missouri Extension. I'm sorry I can't be there in person with you today, but I hope that you'll enjoy today's lesson. And if you have time to pause the video and start off with a discussion question to just get ideas flowing about today's topic, I'd like you to discuss which foods you often throw away at home because they went bad before you ate them. I have an example on the screen, overripe bananas. This is one I hear a lot when I give this presentation to other groups. That's a common food that people don't maybe finish or, end up having to throw away because those bananas have turned brown and they're shriveled and no good. So people will throw them out. So think about what are some of the other examples in your own home. And we're going to get back to this here in a moment, but we can take some time to discuss. Today, we're going to cover the 3 P's of eating healthy on a budget. Those are planning, purchasing, and preparing. So let's start with planning. It's a very simple idea, planning what we're going to prepare for meals ahead of time and using that to drive what we buy at the store. However, we sometimes struggle with this because maybe we try to do everything at once and we get really overwhelmed. We feel like, oh, this is going to take way too much time. And the truth is, it can take some time, but usually that's on the front end. And as we get used to planning meals ahead, it really gets pretty quick and easy once we get a feel for it. Another struggle that we sometimes have when it comes to planning is that we're too focused on what recipes we're going to use. And the third thing is that we overcomplicate what a healthy meal looks like. When we're talking about planning, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You don't have to plan every meal you're going to eat every single day for the whole month. No, there's lots of flexibility we can have here. Also, it's important to know that recipes are really not a good starting place for us most days. They're still fun to incorporate here and there, and they help us keep things interesting. They help us feel inspired in the kitchen, and sometimes we find some new favorites that become sort of classics for us. But when we use too many new recipes at once, this can cost us more money because we're buying all these different ingredients that we might not have on hand. And then we might not have any other way to use those ingredients up and we might end up wasting them. So just keep that in mind that recipes are great, but we don't want to incorporate too many new ones too often. And also thinking about what a healthy meal looks like. It doesn't have to be a 5 course meal. It can really be like a lean protein with some grains and a fruit and vegetable on the side. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. And so we can take out some of that complication that we add to it. And by doing this, we can cut down some of the stress that we feel when it comes to meal prep. So we want to plan meals the week ahead, or if you prefer doing it for 2 weeks ahead or even a month at a time, that is up to you. And by doing this, we're going to save ourselves so much time, but we're also going to save ourselves money, trips to the store, and maybe even some sanity. I don't know about you all, but I get asked a lot, what are we having for supper? What are we having for lunch? And when I don't have a plan, this really stresses me out actually sometimes. But so when I do have a plan, I'll be like, go look at the menu. And it just kind of helps my kids too to feel like, okay, I know what's going to happen tonight. I know what we're going to eat. When we plan ahead, we know what we want to prepare each meal, and this often sets us up to eat healthier foods. We have a plan, so we're less likely to go through the drive-through or grab some convenience foods, that type of thing. When you go to meal plan each week or month, make sure you think about your schedule. So be kind to yourself. If Tuesdays you have sports practice, or if Wednesday nights you have church activities, or Saturdays you have company over, build that into your meal plan and choose easier meals to prepare on those nights when you have a lot of things going on. We also want to think about our food goals, and we really want to make eating healthy and having a well-balanced diet be part of the thought process behind our meal plans. So I like My Plate. I think it's a really simple framework for eating healthy. The idea is that about half of what we eat at each meal, if we're eating 3 meals a day, would be fruits and vegetables. Okay. And remember, we can use canned and frozen vegetables. It doesn't have to be all fresh. And by knowing this, we can really stay in our food budget. One of the nice things about frozen and canned fruits and veggies are that they're already prepared for us, like they're cut up, they're washed. We kind of just have to open the can or open the bag, maybe heat it in the microwave or on the stove, and it's ready. So it can save us time and money. And we want some whole grains. We want at least a half of our whole grains, or sorry, at least half of our grains to be whole grains. So whole grains are like oatmeal, quinoa, barley, brown rice, whole grain tortillas, whole grain bread, whole grain cereal. Not all of your grains have to be whole grains, but we want to shoot for half of them to be. And then we want some lean protein sources, whether you like seafood, chicken, things like that. Of course, we can have red meat as well in moderation, whatever proteins you like, and then some dairy as well. And so sometimes these food items are mixed together, like pizza doesn't work perfectly to fit in these little shapes, but the idea is that we would get a little bit of everything every day to make sure we're getting all the nutrients our bodies need to be healthy. The first step in meal planning is to look at what you already have on hand in your fridge, on your shelf, in your freezer, and think about, what do I need to use first before it goes bad so I don't have to end up throwing it away? What can I make with the foods that I have? And is this healthy? So it goes back to that first question we asked ourselves: what are some of those common foods that we're throwing away? If it's bananas, can you find a creative way to use those instead of throwing them out? Like, I could use my overripe bananas to make banana bread, or I could make some type of oatmeal bake, or kind of cookies using bananas. What I often do is I freeze them and put them in smoothies. So using up those foods, I freeze my spinach and I'll put that in smoothies, or I'll get it out and make some scrambled eggs with spinach in it. There's lots of ways that we can be creative about those foods that are kind of at the end of their shelf life. And instead of throwing them out, let's build them into our plan or put them in the freezer and use them at a later time. I like this because it really helps you be creative and get inspired and try new things. Knowing what you have on hand is going to help you only buy the foods that you need at the store. So on the next slide here, you will see some examples of things. Like, pretend I just went up to my kitchen and I am looking around my cabinets in the fridge, and I've made this list on the left of things that I really need to use soon, or they're going to go bad. So I have eggs, tomatoes, spinach, milk, bread, and berries. These are things I already have. I'm going to build them into my plan. On the right-hand side, I have another list. These are also foods that I already have, but they don't necessarily need to be used this week. They have a long shelf life, but I've already spent the money. I already have them. So by using them, my grocery list of items I need to buy is going to be smaller. And therefore, I wouldn't have to spend as much, right? So I'm going to think about, how can I incorporate these in my plan? And I'm getting these ideas on my head, like, oh, I could have breakfast for dinner one night. I could make chicken enchiladas. I could make smoothies with the berries and the milk and the spinach. I can make croutons with the bread. I've not selected any recipes at this point. I'm just getting those ideas out, and I'm putting those ideas sort of into a menu. And you can do this however you want. But I've created this menu. And for my family, because we're at school and at work during the day, I don't have to plan too much like the lunches and breakfast that we have. Most of my planning comes along in the dinner portion. Okay, but I do have ideas of things that my kids could grab quickly on their way to school, or myself too. For lunch, I have an idea of what I'm going to take for my lunch so I don't have to go out to eat every day. And then for my dinner, I'm looking at my schedule. Tuesdays, we have soccer practice, so I'm going to choose something kind of easy to make. I chose tacos. That's pretty quick and easy. Thursday, I have to work late, so we're just going to have leftovers that night. I'm going to be kind to myself. I know I'm not going to feel like cooking that night, so we're just going to have leftovers from the nights before. Not only will that help me from a preparation standpoint and a stress standpoint, but it's going to help us waste less at the end of the week. There's going to be less food in there that I need to get rid of. And then Saturday night, I have company coming over. So we'll have pizza and I'll just remember, the quantity, I'll need a little bit more than typical night because I have more people to feed. So that's just kind of a rough outline. Again, at this point, once I have my ideas out, if I need to select recipes, I can go back and say, okay, well, pasta, am I going to try a new pasta recipe? And if so, I would select it at this point. But I still want to keep myself open as I create my grocery list based on that meal plan. And our grocery list is now that list of items that we still need to buy, those ingredients that we don't have on hand. But I want to keep myself kind of open because as I'm building this grocery list, I want to be aware of what's on sale this week. So if I'm going to make pasta, I'm going to decide if I'm going to make chicken pasta or pasta with ground beef or ground turkey based on what's on sale that week. That's going to save me even more money. And so we want to have that little bit of flexibility. At this time, you could also think about what coupons we have, loyalty card savings, different apps that we might use. And some people like to go all out and even organize their grocery list based on the store layout. I will say this will help you not miss things on your grocery list, but I myself am not that organized. And some people will even get to where they cycle their menus and their grocery lists every few weeks so they don't have to continue to recreate them every time. So all of this planning will help us cut down on food waste, which will end up saving us a lot of money. Throwing food away is throwing money away, and as you will see in this video, it really adds up. All right. So when we bring new food into the house, or yes, into the house, we want to put that behind the older items so that the first in is the first out, and we can cut down on food that we have to throw away. We could choose a day each week to eat leftovers. We could recreate foods that are nearing the end of their storage life. We kind of talked about that already. Understanding product dating is important too. So those dates you see on your food, like best if used before or sell by, use by dates, those are often in reference to the quality of food. So it's still safe to eat them after that date passes by. It's just that the quality is going to start to go down. One exception is baby formula. You would not want to use baby formula after the date has passed. And of course, when in doubt, throw it out. It's not worth making ourselves sick over by any means, but it's good to just try our best to use those up on time. So some purchasing tips once we are at the store, some things that we can think about are sticking to our grocery list. The more we stick to this list, the more we're going to stay on budget. And sometimes it's hard to not be tempted by foods at the store. We have those impulse buys, but trying to stick to our list is really going to help. For some families, buying in bulk is a way to save money. It really just depends on if you can use it all in time. Okay. Buying generic is another simple way. Buying foods closest to their whole form. So a head of lettuce is going to be cheaper than a bag of pre-chopped lettuce. Whole carrots are cheaper than baby carrots or than carrot coins or shredded carrots. So buying to the closest form, you can save money that way. You can also stock up on food when it's on sale. So yes, I said stick to your grocery list, but if you go to the store and you find, oh, chicken's on a really good sale, I could buy that and go ahead and take it home, divvy it out in portions that make sense for me and my family, and throw those in the freezer, and that's going to save me down the road. Utilizing canned and frozen options is great when we're thinking about produce. You still have a lot of great nutrient availability, whether it's canned or frozen as well. Fresh is great, but so are canned and frozen. With canned, we just want to be cautious about added sodium or added sugar. So if we're thinking about beans and vegetables, maybe we can buy in a no salt added or low salt added, or we can always just put that food item in a colander and rinse off with some water, and that's going to take most of the sodium away. For canned fruits, we want to choose those canned in 100% fruit juice so that there is no added sugar. For frozen, same thing, buying just broccoli or just strawberries and making sure that there's not like an added sauce or added sugar in those items. Try not to go grocery shopping hungry. I also try to go grocery shopping without my children as much as possible, but generally I have to take them with me. I usually save money when I don't have the little ones in the cart. Using coupons only on items you already plan to buy. Plan a meal each week without meat. That can save you for sure, as protein tends to be one of our more expensive items. Your freezer is your friend. You use your freezer, get a sale on cheese, you can freeze cheese, get a sale on bread, you can freeze bread. Check the unit price is the final one here. And I'm not going to go too much into this today, but your handouts have some additional information. Fortunately, a lot of stores list the unit price or the price per ounce or pound on the price tag. So the math is already done for us. But in case you go to a store that this is not listed, you can figure it out pretty easily. Oops, I'm sorry. You're going to take the cost of the item and divide it by the number of units. So here's an example. We have this can of pears. It costs 80 cents. There are 12 ounces in this can. So to figure out the unit price, I would take 80 cents divided by 12 and get 7 cents per ounce. Another example is here. Let's pretend this is cereal. I want to buy cereal and there's two options. There's a 16-ounce box for $2.50 or a 32-ounce box for $3. If I want to figure out which is the better buy, I would take $2.50 divided by 16, and that box is 15 cents an ounce. This box is $3 divided by 32 ounces. That's 9 cents an ounce. So as long as my family can eat that amount of cereal in time, this is going to be the better buy for me. Frugal foods are foods that are really high in nutrients, but tend to be more affordable compared to other foods. So some examples of frugal foods that you may want to incorporate into your diet more often are things like eggs, potatoes, rolled oats. Let's see here, non-fat dried milk, especially if you don't like drinking milk. Milk goes bad fairly quickly, so this could help extend the shelf life. Beans are a great one. Peanut butter, canned tuna, sometimes canned chicken. You just got to check the price and see if it's on sale. Plain Greek yogurt. I use this in place of sour cream, like on tacos and chili. I also use it a lot in, smoothies or make parfaits. I can sometimes substitute oil in baked goods with Greek yogurt. Canned or frozen fruit and vegetables, brown rice, whole wheat pasta are other examples. So sometimes healthy eating gets a bad rep and people think it's way more expensive to eat healthy. Well, the truth is eating in general is kind of expensive. And if you look here on the left and the right, you'll see that you can get a lot of food for about the same price that you can get for some of those less healthy items. Now, there's room in our diets for all these types of food. I'm not trying to shame any food or whatever, but we definitely want to make sure we're getting a lot of the food there on the right column. So preparing food on a budget, consider eating more food at home. We're going to save ourselves a lot of money if we prepare our food at home instead of going out to eat. If time is a factor, think about cooking food once, but eating it twice. So, again, eating those leftovers, packing yourself to-go meals and snacks, utilizing your freezer. So when you do have leftovers or you do have extra time, you can make meals for the future on days when you don't have a lot of time or don't feel up to cooking. I typically have more time on the weekend, so sometimes I like to chop up all the veggies I'm going to use for the week or cook a bunch of meat ahead of time that I will utilize across several different meals. And then purchasing snacks and bagging them yourself is going to save you money than buying those individual snack packages. You don't have to do this all at once. Eating 1 to 2 fewer meals per week at restaurants to save money in calories is a really good starting goal. Or maybe that's 1 to 2 fewer coffees or something like that. Just set a small goal and build up from there. When we're thinking about preparing foods at home, it's okay to reach for those convenience items sometimes, those hamburger helpers, those frozen pizzas, macaroni and cheese. But there are some ways that we can make those items more healthy. We can use, sorry, healthier. That's the proper, that didn't sound right. Not more healthy, healthier. We can use half the seasoning packet to cut down on sodium or look for no or low sodium options. We can rinse like the canned beans and vegetables, like I was telling you about. I'm sorry, I'm pumping the slide here. We can add fruits and vegetables to foods. You know, we have that frozen pizza. We could add some chopped up veggies. We could put some fruit on the side, and that's going to add some more fiber and nutrients to our overall meal. We could cut the fat by using half the margarine or butter. I always think of macaroni and cheese. You know, they give you the full one where you add 4 tablespoons of butter. And then on the side, they say you can make this a little healthier if you just use 2 tablespoons of butter. So you can give that a try. You can drain and rinse meat. So that fat that cooks out of our meat, I like to save my coffee containers and then drain the excess fat into those coffee containers. Substituting unsweetened applesauce for oil when baking is a good way to cut down fat in baked goods, or you could use 2 egg whites for one whole egg. So here's an opportunity. If you'd like to give feedback on this program, you can scan that QR code and fill out a short Qualtrics survey if you would like using your smartphone. And then finally, I'd like to leave you with my contact information. If you have any questions about this or other health-related topics, feel free to reach out. And with that, I will say thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.